All right, Raj, what's up,
Dev, what's
man?
cracking, man?
Oh, just another day in Venice with sirens going by.
Oh yeah, I hear that. It's like a set of a expensive movie shoot or something.
Yeah, I close all the windows, but nothing I can do.
No, it's cool. It's nice ambient noise. It's like
Yeah,
sound
it's good.
effects. I
Yeah,
dig
it's
it.
like yeah.
Usually we would have to pay for that at the Reggae PodClash. It's free.
Yes, I was free here.
Use it.
Definitely free. It comes with my. It's part of my rent. It's all these
Use it.
sirens.
Over here, it's just crickets. Sorry,
All right,
can't help you
that's
with the
okay.
sound effects.
Well,
I
we have a really good show today. But before we even get into that, I just want to like take a second to you know, mention the names of Dijon Kizzy and Daniel Prude. Dijon Kizzy was murdered by the police last week here in Los Angeles, just riding his bike, shot 20 times in the back, pulled over for a vehicle violation. And for that, apparently, if you're black in America, you get shot 20 times in the back. So we want to make sure we mention his name. And also Daniel Prude from Rochester, New York, who, this happened a few months ago, but, a mentally ill black man who the cops, asphyxiated by putting a plastic bag over his head. And this is the real shit that's going on that black people, have been dealing with and are still dealing with. And, I know we're here to talk about music, but this is reggae music, and reggae music, for all that it's morphed into, has, it's first and foremost music of the black Jamaican ghettos against, colonialism and white supremacy. So we always got to make sure we talk about it. So Dijon Kizzy and Daniel Prude, thinking of you and the families.
Yes, definitely.
On another note, this came in the mail. I know you and I ordered this.
Oh yeah, man.
The
Have you? Well, it doesn't look like you opened it yet, right?
No, I haven't opened it.
I haven't opened it either. What's your reason for not opening the good records? It's for ladies and gentlemen. It's a box set, old school reissue of some Coxsone Studio 145s.
Yes. It's
Yeah. I'm stoked. I mean, I just haven't had time to really get into it, but
I haven't yet, but I'm stoked on it. It's like sometimes these 7-inch box sets come out and you just, even for like more than just the records themselves, like I'm just like, I need to have this. I would be so, because these sell out, you know what I'm saying? And then
right.
and they're gone forever.
Yeah, there's
and you're like, damn, I should have picked it up.
dude, there's like box sets like that popping up left and right. I think someone posted there was like another ska 45 box set or something like that. I forget what company. But yeah, dude, I mean, how cool are they? And the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, if there's any collectors out there, buy those.
Which I hope by now there are, right? Like
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Buy those box sets, because it's like, I love it when there's a modern thing and they keep some kind of quantity limit. So there becomes a rarity to it over time. You know what I mean? There will be it will be rare. That's what I try to do with my records. When I release Revis 45s, I keep the press just low. And,
Right.
Like all of my releases are already sold out. And I'm not saying that to brag and boast. It's just there are not that many got pressed initially. And you keep it like that. And it's kind of cool. It's like, shoot, okay, cool. So now the people that did get them, it's like it's like something that they can look back on and go, okay, cool. And
Exactly.
on Discogs, man, I mean, some of those records end up, even some Revis records on there. I'm like, dang, give me
Yeah.
the money.
Wingatron in the comments is saying Soul Jazz out of the UK has released some great box sets. Yeah, Soul Jazz is one of the best, if not the best. I mean, Studio One reissue company, great. Like, they dig deep and stuff you've always wanted on vinyl, and suddenly you have like an amazing, LP copy of it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yes, but so today on the show we have a very special guest, Mr. Eric
Yes.
Rachmany from Rebelution.
Ooh, yeah,
we are
man.
very happy to have him, and so I know people are tuning in, want to talk to Eric. So
Yeah,
let's but before we bring the guests on, we always do a segment called what, Roger?
Record of the week.
That's
and
right.
I'm going to get to my record of the week right now. Right before that, I want to let everybody know we're happy to announce the Rootfire and Cali Roots. They're teaming up. They're doing this thing called Center Stage with Reggae Icons. It's a project of theirs. And they're working together to spotlight these living legends of reggae music, and also help educate audiences out there about them. A lot of cats out there don't know about some of these old school artists. And so month to month, they're going to feature a new artist. And this month, the month of September, they're featuring Mr. Toots Hibbert.
Yes.
I don't know if some of you may know that Mr. Toots Hibbert was supposed to be on the show last Saturday, and we got the horrible news that he became ill. And then as days went on, we learned that he tested positive for COVID-19, and he is in a medically induced coma right now. So everyone, please keep Toots Hibbert in your thoughts and in your prayers. We need him. We need him around. Yep. We need him. He's coming back to the show. He's going to answer questions. He's going to talk to us. And one of the questions I wanted to ask him was off a tune that some of the first Toots and the Maytals music that I heard was from a certain era, like 1969, 70, specifically an album called Sweet and Dandy. And there's a song that, as the title suggests, it's not really... I don't know. The song's called Blah, Blah, Blah. So I'll let you guys start off with that. Anyways, that's my record of the week. And I included, for the first time ever, we have a lyric video. So I got the lyrics to this song and I put them up on, in front of the record playing. Check it out. And please let me know if you could kind of see where Mr. Toots Hibbert was going with this, because even with the lyrics, I really don't get the whole gist of the song. And I can't wait to ask Mr. Hibbert that. So without further ado, this is Toots and the Maytals, Blah, Blah, Blah. Toots, what are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to tell us?
I don't know how many times I've heard that song, and I'm so glad you did that with the lyrics and everything, because you're exactly right. What is he talking about?
Like,
I have some ideas, but you go first.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead with the theory that it's so off the wall. The lyrics are like, it's almost like his way of describing things that don't make sense. I don't know. I'm not approaching it like something that needs to make sense. I think that it's kind of like, almost, and I may be reading too deep into it, but it's almost like a story of something that just don't make sense. Blah blah blah. I don't know. I have no idea. Does it mean something? Is it something actually happened, Devin?
So like
Did
you're
something
focusing on the blah 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 part, right?
Right.
But to me, it's that like the verses. What do the verses have to do with the blah 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 part? Because he says like I brought some food home, gave it to my brother, and I put the food on the table.
Oh no, that's what I'm talking about. The whole song.
Okay, right.
Yeah, the verses is yeah, blah blah blah. No, the verses. I'm saying that doesn't make any sense to me. It's almost like he's like reciting something that doesn't make sense to kind of highlight the whole blah blah blah.
I see
thing.
what
Like,
you're saying.
See
He's
what I'm
like,
saying?
Yeah, nothing's making sense. And here's an example. Like I brought some food home and gave it to my brother, and then the table turned over.
Yeah.
I mean,
do you find another way?
I mean, that's kind of. I was kind of going that way too. At first, I was thinking when it first came up, I was like, all right, the table's turning, right? You can like that can be a metaphor for like things changing. And I was thinking maybe like, okay, I brought home some food for my brother, and that's like an act of love, and that is gonna like help turn the tables. I was thinking from that angle, but then as it went on, I was like, I don't know. But then he's talking about like something strange is happening, and people are singing blah 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 about it.
Yeah,
so it's like I couldn't connect that to what I was thinking, and then so I started thinking along your lines of okay, maybe like he put the food down and the table turned over, meaning like even when they get some food, they finally get some food to eat, they can't eat it, like nothing ever really works out. But then again, like what does that have to, how does that connect to the blah 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 part? That's where I'm struggling.
I'm
Roger.
telling you, man, that's why
So
I really wanted to ask Toots. Like,
all right, well, we're gonna ask him.
We're gonna ask him. So it's a speedy recovery to Toots, and when he gets on the show, we're gonna ask him. That's the first thing we're gonna ask him.
All right, well, tell us a little bit more about that.
So, anyways, okay, yes. So the main thing that hooked me and reeled me in was the groove. That it's a faster, 1969, 70 groove, 70s groove. It's almost one of the fastest I've heard. It's almost like if a band nowadays tried to play that groove and they were playing it too fast.
Right.
It sounded like that to me, like third wave 69 reggae or something like that. But of course, it's Jamaican. They get away with it. It sounds great.
Beverly's, I feel like, has a lot of tunes that is exactly what you're describing right now. It's kind of fast. Do you know Don't Get Weary by Carl Dawkins? It's like the fastest like skinhead tune I've ever heard from that era. It's crazy. I'll play it for you. I'll do that as my song of the week coming up.
But man, so the stellar lineup that is Beverly's All Stars is Gladstone Anderson, aka Gladdy Anderson on piano, Jackie Jackson on bass, Joe Isaacs on drums, Hux Brown, and Lynn Tate on guitars, and of course the man Winston Wright on organ.
Dang.
You cannot go wrong with that lineup. That lineup right there.
That's a band.
And no one's going against the Scottalites, the original Scottalites. But if you were ever to make a lineup that in some musical battle that we're going against each other, this lineup right here is insane. So, yeah, man. I mean, I think Leslie Kong knew what he was doing. Leslie Kong, the producer of a lot of stuff on the Beverly's label, and a lot of the stuff that came out of Dynamic Studios in Kingston, Jamaica. It's that certain sound, man. I love it. Can't get enough of it.
That's killer. Well, that was a great selection, Raj.
Thank you. And like I said, everyone keep Toots in your prayers and your thoughts. Get them out of there. Devin, what do you have going on? What tunes?
All right,
you
well,
got?
I'm fast forwarding at least 10 years, maybe about 12 years. I think this might be my first like early 80s roots radic style tune I've played on the show so far. This is by a group called Cultural Roots, which I have to admit, reggae music is the gift that keeps on giving no matter how deep you get into it. And I'm kind of new to Cultural Roots. I only heard about them a few years ago. And they've got a bunch of great albums, but this is my favorite Cultural Roots tune. It's a 12-inch single that I searched for a little while and finally found on good old Discogs.
Nice.
And this is, it's a heavy one. And listen to the drums. It doesn't say, but I'm pretty sure it's got to be Roots Radics because it just sounds like Style Scott to me. But yes, this is Cultural Roots, a tune called Ghetto Runnings.
born in the ghetto, there's certain environments you've got to go through, like buck off a toe. Whoa, like buck off a toe. Tim bim, whoa, and then you school from school, go down a go left. We say go right, feel scared, and raise your borders. Then hardly anyone until it's too late. Whoa, then some die by their guns, some by the blades, some make it through, yeah, yeah, yeah. Some seems to fade, yes, they fade away. Whoa, good gosh, no ghetto running. Then some die by their guns, whoa. Some by the blades, some make it through, yeah, yeah, yeah. Some seems to fade, yes, they fade away. Whoa, good God, from you born in the ghetto, there's certain environments you've got to go through. From you born in the ghetto, there's certain environments you've got to go through, like buck off a toe. Whoa, like buck off a toe. Whoa, and then you school from school. Me say go right, feel scared, and raise your borders. Then hardly anyone until it's too late. Whoa, then some die by their gun, some by the blades, some make it through, yeah, yeah, yeah. Some seems to fade, yes, they fade away. Whoa, good God, no ghetto running. Whoa.
Nice.
That's a tune.
Yeah, man.
So yes, that's Ghetto Runnings by Cultural Roots, and you've got the 7-inch graphic up there, and I played it from this 12-inch record. It's on the Germain label. It's a
Nice.
Donovan Germain Productions. For people who aren't like super familiar with vinyl, 12-inch record is the best sound you can get from vinyl if it's done well, because it's the biggest grooves. It's a LP sized, but you play it at 45 speed, and so instead of cramming a song onto a little piece of wax like a 7-inch single, or cramming a bunch of songs onto a big piece of wax like an LP, you put one song, so you get these big fat grooves, so you get like really good bass frequency and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about, to me vinyl is magic. The fact that you can record sound to physical material doesn't even make sense to me, but yeah, so that's one of my favorite 12-inch records. I discovered them fairly recently. Like I said, they put out 4 records between that's like, I read somewhere that that's 1980, that tune, but another place I read that it's 1982, and it doesn't say on the record, so I'm not sure. But between 1980 or so and the early 90s, when they disbanded, they put out 4 records. Hell I Go Pop is probably their like classic record. I'm blanking on the other one. They've got some. Oh wow, I'm totally blanking on it. They've got another. Yeah,
I definitely heard of the band, but like it wasn't one of those bands I've dug into at all.
When I discovered them a couple years ago, I thought they were UK just purely from the fact that I hadn't heard of them,
Right.
and it kind of had that sound. But no, they're straight up Jamaican. The lead singer Wade Dice was like a teenager in Kingston. He came, in the late 70s. He was like 17 or something, So by the time he really started to get going, it was the early '80s like that. So you don't find any cultural roots over '70s rhythms. But to me, that's got to be Roots Radix on that track.
Oh, totally. The drums.
Yeah.
Some of those fills,
The fills. That's how you know.
Like some of these, it's just
like
Style Scott kind of stuff.
I wish more drummers would listen to Style Scott. He rarely hits the crash cymbal.
Right.
Like
right.
Hits instead of like, so we're coming up to the fill, and it'll be like, and that's the fill, And sometimes it'll come like he'll continue the fill into the next bar. It's like study Style Scott on drums, and you can see what you can do with like a hi-hat and a snare and kick drum and one tom, and that's all you need.
Right. Yeah.
And you can do all the dynamics of fills that fills are supposed to do in songs and everything, But yeah, Wade Dice. So the band broke up in the early '90s. Wade Dice moved to Salem, Massachusetts, and went to school and did all this stuff. But then in 2015, he decided he was gonna put a new version of the band together so they could keep playing their songs. And so he put a totally new band of like Salem cats together, and it's him, the singer, and they still go by Cultural Roots. And they play the whole catalog, but he's the only founding member. But they're still I know they played in San Diego, like at that new venue down in San Diego that I'm blanking on. That's really the Music Box that opened up a couple years ago. It's really nice.
Right, really cool venue.
Yeah, and they always bring like cats on the more obscure side. They've been putting on great shows there.
Right.
And Cultural Roots came down a couple years ago, and it was like right before I knew about them, I think. So I was bummed on that.
Crazy. Like I would have never. Yeah, I didn't know that. So the Salem guys are like, evidently there's a group of guys in Salem that that
play
reggae.
Always,
that always like worries me, right? When people talk about oh man, the cost of living in Texas is this, or the cost of living over here, and then I'm like, yeah, but how many cats over there? Texas, there's a lot of reggae cats. I get it. I have friends in Texas. I know that, but some parts of the world, you go like, could I put a band together that easy? Could I? Like. You get homie over here. It's like this kind of.
Well, Salem.
thing.
They're technically in Salem, but they're in Massachusetts, so there's Boston right there. There's you can get cats from different places.
Right.
True that. But they're still doing it. So big up. Yeah. In the comments, people, journalist Bandu, Wade is here if you need to contact. Cool. Yeah, they had the Music Box. Yeah. They have some great stuff there. Okay, cool. So look,
awesome.
That was Cultural Roots, but everybody. We have a great guest today. Roger, do you want to do the honors?
Yeah, man. You guys, when I first met Eric, I was like, this cat's different. And I mean that. I really do. Because, some of these artists are like, they kind of in their own box. And, you kind of, I don't know, they kind of keep to themselves or whatever. Eric is the perfect combination of a great artist, great singer-songwriter, and a great dude to chill with. He's just the definition of real, and that's my definition because of my association with Eric. You know him from Unified Highway, from Rebelution. Without further ado, Mr. Eric Rachmany, please get Eric in here.
Yay! What's up, Eric?
Hey, what's up, guys?
And what's funny is I mean that, right? Because like I remember when I first met you, it was the John Phillips thing. We got together, did some music, and there was something about you where it was like, nah, this cat's like, some cats you go and they act like their shit don't stink or whatever, and they're kind of keeping themselves. But you're like just totally real, like, and up until now, like you're the same Eric. Which
you're saying his shit stinks is what you're saying.
I say, man, you don't stink like everyone else's. Yeah, no, and it's kind of like different things that you associate with people over time, and that's one of the things I associate with you is that you're just a real cat. So.
Oh man, likewise with you guys, and that was the best intro I've ever received. If you could introduce us on stage for that whole next summer tour, that'd be amazing.
Yes, I let Roger do all the really important introductions on this show. He has a way with it. So, dude, where are you calling in from?
So I'm calling from Santa Barbara, which is where I live now, and where the band got started about 15 years ago.
All right. Nice. So you're still in the hometown. Is that where you grew up?
No, so I grew up in the Bay Area in San Francisco, but my mom grew up here, and I have a lot of family here. And just if anybody's ever been to Santa Barbara, you kind of fall in love with it for different reasons.
Yeah.
You're close to the water, the ocean, and then also the mountains, and close to LA, where both you guys are in LA. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's nice, and it's a beautiful area. A lot of history, and some nice people. Yeah, it's a great spot.
How's the weather there today? Devin told me not to talk about the weather.
Yeah,
but I'm
we don't talk about the weather on the show. But go ahead. For Eric, we can talk about it.
It's pretty hot, but I think it's a little bit warmer where you guys are at. I like it. I mean, I got the kind of Middle Eastern Persian roots, so this is in my wheelhouse right here. So I can handle it.
Nice. So, so I wanted to start off. I'm always interested to know the specific path that led people to reggae music, and like what artist inspired you to say like I want to play reggae music for a living, and any artist. I'm always interested in like the Jamaican artists that's inspired people, but just anybody musically that really made you say like reggae is what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, I kind of had a life-changing experience when I went to a Don Carlos show at a venue called the Ashkenaz in Berkeley, California.
Yep.
And I went with my sister because I heard her playing some Don Carlos like in our house, and I really liked the music. I liked his melodies and his songs, and I decided to give it a try, go see a live show. And just the live show is so different than the recording, and they were jamming out, they were dubbing it out. I couldn't believe it. It was just a life-changing experience. And as soon as I got to Santa Barbara for college, I knew that I wanted to find other people that were interested in reggae somehow. And so that was the moment that really got me. It led me to music before Don Carlos, reggae music at the time that I'd gone to that show, which was way different than roots music. So it all hit me at once, but it was from that show and Don Carlos specifically.
Man, crazy. Have you told him that? Did you? I'm sure you've had.
Oh yeah, definitely. And to consider that guy a friend of mine now, I mean, it's pretty crazy. So.
It's a trip for sure.
Don Carlos. I mean, I gotta like big you guys up for just. You guys and Slightly Stoopid, like the fact both of you guys bring out Don Carlos on stage and really like, give that dude, share your platform that you guys have with him, because he truly is like one of the greats. And I feel like a lot of people have a similar story to yours, in terms of just like hearing him for the first time, being like, oh man, like what is this? And so like, I always, I say this to people all the time, like, you got to big up like Rebelution for just like having Don Carlos around and being like, no, we're turning it over to him for a couple songs now. And that's just like beautiful, as a fan, like, thank you for that. That's awesome.
All right.
Dude, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to piggyback Devin's statement, man. That's one of the things you guys do well.
Thank you. Well, I definitely big up Slightly Stoopid for doing that too.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to showcase the people that got you into reggae music and maybe educate people that don't know where you got your influence from. Like when I met Don Carlos and I told him, hey, you're like a huge influence of mine. And he was like, thank you. But my big influence is Alton Ellis. And like, as like a youngster into reggae, like I didn't really know much about Alton Ellis, but then it led me to like look at some old Alton Ellis, and it led me on a path to like, understand more about reggae music and where it came from, the history behind it, the culture, Rasta culture, not even Rasta culture, just like Jamaican culture, tons of stuff, as you guys know. Yeah. So it's very important. It's one of my biggest goals at this point in my career is to just make sure people know where reggae music comes from. And although I'm not like a huge scholar of reggae music, I think I know more than most people. But one reason why I'm excited to be here is that, you guys are such tremendous reggae scholars and such great collectors. And even though you might not consider yourselves, I think, for most people, you guys really have a grasp on the genre and you guys can educate. And that's what you guys are doing through this podcast. I really salute you guys. So much love.
Well, thank you, Eric.
Yeah, for sure.
I appreciate that.
Game recognized game, that's for sure. And I was following you on Instagram. I do follow you on Instagram, and one of the things you had posted before that I had to go ahead and grab and copy and paste, and it plays into what we're talking about. But I'm going to quote you back in December of 2018. You were saying, and I quote, "The reggae-inspired scene here in the USA is steadily coming up with festivals dedicated to the scene. And while I'm proud to see such an independent movement shine without mainstream support, it's my fear that the music coming from Jamaica isn't getting enough exposure. I'm honored when people say, you got me into reggae music. But I just want everyone to know where my influences come from. And then you proceed to give shout outs to everyone doing it right now, like Coffee, Chronics, Proteges, Jesse Royal, John 9, Raging Fire, Kabaka Pyramid. And I was like, yeah, man. Because not only, I mean, for me, Eric, not only are you being an example to people that listen to, for lack of a better term, you know, calling it Cali Roots or whatnot, but you're also an example to other bands that are playing this music. You know what I mean? Like, you've been in the game for a long time, so you have your path and how you started. But a lot of, I think, bands that are sprouting up, they don't even have that path at all. They're just like, all right, I mean, reggae music, okay, yeah, I know Rebelution, I know Slightly Stupid, I know Sublime, you know, whereas you were influenced by Don Carlos, know about Out and Out and stuff like that. So, yeah, man, I was like, there goes Eric, man, heck yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think the reason why I wrote that is because I saw one of the festivals we were on, and it said it was like a reggae festival, and reggae was in the title. And it's really important to have some of those older artists and artists from Jamaica, where reggae is from, on the lineup. Because when people say Rebelution is my favorite reggae band, you guys got me into reggae, you know, like I said in that post, I'm honored, but I think a lot of people might say, well, that's not reggae music, and you don't know where reggae music comes from. Like, you need to know where it comes from in order to, you know, identify with, you know, this festival, like calling it reggae. So it puts me in sort of an awkward situation, because I want to educate people about reggae, and I feel like we do a pretty decent job about it. But I hope that people see these posts. I hope people, you know, go look at Don Carlos's catalog, or Protege, or Chronics, or, you know, we were supposed to tour with Steel Pulse this summer, and unfortunately it didn't happen. But that's kind of a weird feeling for me. Like, Steel Pulse goes on before us. Like, man, that's a band like I idolize, and I hope that, you know, at the end of the show, people might even go look at Steel Pulse and say, like, oh, I didn't even know this was like a group. As crazy as that seems, like, I want people to go back and see all the things that influenced us. So it's very, very important. And, you know, not to ramble on, but I think a lot of the bands in this scene do a pretty good job at that. Slightly Stupid, a great example, bringing Don Carlos and Marlon Asher, and you know, and same with you guys. You know, you guys, I mean, I saw that the Expanders did an entire cover album, you know, and
two cover albums.
Yeah, and they were fantastic. And Roger, I mean, same with just, you know, the way that you promote your influence. It's wonderful, and it's great. It's a great educational tool for the people that are maybe just getting into reggae music for the first time.
Well, I mean, you know, for people like me and Raj, like, that's all that stuff is great to hear, because that's, you know, that we recognize the power of bands. It really started with Sublime in this scene, I feel like, but just the power is evident that these popular bands have to expose people to Jamaican music. And I think, you know, you mentioned, I think we're doing a decent job at it, and I hope, you know, people are finding out about some of these artists. I mean, you can rest assured that they definitely are, and you definitely are doing a great job at it, because that's the way this stuff works. You know what I mean? When I was in junior high school in the mid 90s, like, listening to Sublime, I mean, there were other paths that got me into reggae as well, but like, Sublime was absolutely, you know, one of the main things where I'm like, oh, like, have you ever heard, telling one of my friends, like, have you ever heard like such and such song? He's like, oh, did you know that that's a cover of blah, blah, blah? I'm like, oh, no way. And then we'll look up that artist, and then just like, what? And then just go down that path, you know what I mean? And I know, just, you know, that was my generation because of my age, but then I know a lot of people who I've talked to who say the same thing about you, say the same thing about a lot of bands in this scene, you know, like, oh, I had never, like, I loved Rebelution, I loved whoever it may be, and then, you know, they were bringing Don Carlos out, or Eric would talk about this and that, and I would go find these artists. So I mean, it's like, it's definitely, it works. It's a real thing, and, you know, I think people recognize it and appreciate it.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. And, I think that post I made, Roger,
Yeah.
it was more directed at the festivals and using the name
Right.
reggae in it and not so much about the bands. And we can always do a better job at bigging up the people that influenced us. That's for sure. But, if you're going to use the name reggae, you got to include, some of the classics and some of the stuff from Jamaica. I think it's really, really important that people know where reggae music came from. That's definitely a goal of, all of ours, I think. So.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are also, just incorporating some of the same paths and elements that they did and it's traditional to Jamaican music. So, for example, you guys dropped a dub album, right? And that's like dope right there because, that's introducing all the youngsters or a whole new crowd of people that may not even know what dub is and they get it, because, um, you know, that's a brave thing to do. Not a lot of people they'll drop a dub single here and there, maybe like a dub version, but a full dub album, it's a big step. So I commend you guys for doing that. So tell us about that a little bit. Like who's behind the controls? Who's the dub master?
Sure. Yeah. So our other guitar player, Kyle Ahern, pretty much did the entire dub album, and Kyle's the youngest guy in the band, the newest member of the band. He initially won a contest with Rebelution. It was a Jam with the Band contest. And he was just a young, like, high schooler kid. Didn't even know much about reggae music. He just was a Rebelution fan and a couple other guys in the scene. And he kept in contact with me over the years. And then when I felt like it was time we needed another guitar player, he auditioned and he knew every Rebelution song. Like
Crazy, man.
Yeah. And
Oh man. So is that what I gotta do to be here? Hold on real quick. Let me this is all an audition real quick.
Yeah.
Rory's there to do his thing, but I'll be in the back just like hiding. Hold on real quick. So
Hey,
anyways,
man.
I know this song. No. That's a
I'm
trip,
sure.
man. That's a crazy story.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I love telling that story. But, he entered the band and his production got really advanced over the years. And I think I came up with the idea that he should maybe try a couple dub tracks, and they were amazing. And he kind of threw his own unique style on it too. And for the people watching that don't know what dub is, I mean, you guys can probably elaborate more, but it's really an emphasis on drum and bass. And usually when a single came out on a record, the backside usually had like a instrumental version or maybe a dub version. That's they call it a version, right? And it could be either one. And so that's kind of where dub first started. There was room, I think, on the 45, and so they put like some extra stuff on there.
Yep. Here, let's see. Let's see an example. So whatever this record is, what is this? This is Clive and Tim by
Is that Mariah Carey?
by Ranking Roger. There you go. I didn't even plan that. And then on the back, what Eric is talking about, you see, it just says version.
Version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what Eric's talking about.
Yeah, so Kyle basically did the whole thing and killed it. He really put a lot of time and effort into it. And although typically with dub music, it's usually like a one-take kind of thing where you got your knobs and your effects. Kyle didn't really do it like that. At least I don't think. He took his time with it, did multiple takes, and really kind of sent it to us in the band to approve. And we think it came out really well.
Yeah, man. How did you guys decide like what tunes you were gonna do? Because it's correct me if I'm wrong. It's kind of like a picking from your whole discography, correct?
It is. I think there's certain tempos that might fit better with a dub version than others. And in Rebelution, we have a big reggae influence, but a lot of our music just is very different than reggae, I think, or traditional reggae, I suppose. So that kind of narrowed down some of the songs, but we did leave off many, and I think a dub collection album number 2 might be in the works at some point down the line.
Nice.
Very cool, man.
And you put it out on Easystar Records, and I wanted to ask you about just in general working with those guys, because big up Eric and Lem and Michael and the whole Easystar crew, and the Expanders put out some records on Easystar, and just was they're just a great bunch of guys. And I wanted to ask, like, from a music business side of things, it's like the industry being what it is nowadays, and a band like you who doesn't necessarily need a label in terms of like the exposure that one would traditionally think would come from, okay, we're going to put it on this label and that means these people are going to see, you guys kind of already have that. So like what were some of the things that made you think like, no, like partnering with a label like Easystar is really the way to go. Because I know you have a few albums out with them now.
Yeah, we do. I love Eric and Lem. They do such a great job. They do a fantastic job in exposing when we have an album coming out, as far as marketing it the right ways to let people know. And I think that does take some skill in having a label and a right team.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I really like the music that they are putting out. They're kind of on the same mission as us three here. They're putting out kind of the reggae influenced music here in the United States and around the world, as well as promoting and putting out the Jamaican stuff too. I mean, I think these guys are huge reggae lovers, and in a sense, they're trying to bridge the gap. And I think they've done a fantastic job. So big up Eric and Lem, and they feel like family. They feel like Rebelution family.
Yeah.
Sure,
No, that's
man.
dope. I was stoked when I saw that you guys were doing stuff with them. Because everything you just said. The first time I heard of Easystar was even before like the Easystar All Star stuff. They put out a comp of reissues called "Can't Stop Us Now," of like a bunch of Linville Thompson productions, and so it's awesome to see like the whole spectrum that they put out. So I'm stoked that you guys are all working together.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's dope, man. I wanted to ask you about that. You kind of touched on it right now when you talked about, reggae is a big part of your guys' sound, but you're also influenced by other things. So not just yourself, but other guys in the band, maybe you don't mind speaking for them, like what other, outside of the reggae genre, like what other genres or artists are you guys influenced by?
Man, it's all over the place, honestly. I'm trying to think what, hip hop obviously is a big influence on everybody in the band. Classic rock for me, and a couple other guys. Funk music for our bass player and our drummer, in a sense. I mean, we're all over the place, man. It's crazy. And then when we added Kyle to the band, he came from like a metal background, so he's a crazy shredder on the guitar. And then our horn section has a fantastic jazz background and R&B. So you put it all together, it's just this weird mix of music that we love. But I'm trying to think what I've been listening to lately. I find myself going back to some of my favorite artists like Pink Floyd and the way that they would arrange their music. And although it's very different than the Rebelution recorded material, there's definitely some tones and some lyrical influence that I get from those guys.
I can hear that.
Yeah. I'm a big David Gilmour fan. I just love his tone.
Yeah.
I try to mimic that in a sense. And I'm definitely not like a shredder guitar player like Kyle, but I do think I have my own style, and I think I kind of identify with the Gilmour sound a little bit more.
I could totally hear that. Like, I've never really articulated that to myself, the David Gilmour thing, but now that you say that, I'm like, oh, totally. And especially live, I think that really comes through. And you mentioned being, you saying you're calling yourself not a shredder and being humble, but, one of the things I've always like said to people about Rebelution, especially from the live shows, is like your proficiency on the guitar comes through. Like, you can tell. This might, to people who are not musicians listening to this might sound like an obvious thing, but like I can tell that you practice your instrument, which is not the case like for a lot of people when you see a band. Like you have moments where it's like just you and the guitar, and you're doing your like acoustic thing for a little while. And I start like imagining myself in your spot, and I get scared because I'm like, I would totally fuck this up. Like, and you're always just nailing it. Like, you got a really beautiful like style on acoustic guitar, especially. I mean, yeah, I dig your guitar playing.
Thank you. Well, when I'm doing that in my head, I'm actually saying the same thing. I'm like, don't fuck this up. And a lot of the time I do fuck it up, but it is what it is. And in a sense, people can relate to that a little bit more.
For as far as like being a guitar player, who are some of your people you look up to as guitar players?
Well, when I was getting into guitar, I was listening to a lot of alternative rock. I was 12, 13 years old, and Stone Temple Pilots, Nirvana, Green Day, Pearl Jam. Nice. That stuff was awesome. And great power chords, Rage Against the Machine, Red Hot Chili Peppers, all that stuff. But then once I heard Dave Matthews Band, I got into acoustic guitar and more of like the percussive kind of playing with the right hand and the thirds he was doing. Here, I could show you real quick.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. You know, just like, this is like almost every Dave Matthews song has kind of chords. Anyway,
Nice.
but I really like that stuff. It was a new kind of playing for me, and then I found reggae music, and it was more just the rhythm of reggae music that I got into. But I've always been more of an acoustic guitar player. I never thought of myself as leads until I got to Rebelution. I was, you know, the front man and like trying to do solos, and that was probably the most nerve-wracking for me, was doing leads. But kind of got used to it over time, and it helps having Kyle there now, because if I mess up a note, I'm just like, Kyle, save me, and then he just goes crazy and it helps out. So.
Well, since you got a guitar in your hand, don't put it away yet. Maybe you would want to play a song. I'm sure that people would be. Yeah. Maybe. Do you have any room to back up a little bit? I was thinking like when you played out there, it was like a little hot. It was a little hot.
Let me angle this too.
Nice.
How about that?
There you go. Perfect.
Okay. People walking around talking down on others. You can't know yourself without knowing about the other, and I know that ain't the right way to go. I got a hunch that we don't want to diss. Let's move away from hate and prejudice, yeah. The racist man, now he's full of it. Let's learn about the culture opposite now. Don't judge a book by the cover. People take a look at the world and discover beauty is a word that I think of when I see different colors of the skin. I'll rejoice and sing for them, oh no. The tension keeps building up, well, oh no, no, no. Well, oh no. Hatred keeps building up, well, oh no, no, no. Ba-da, ba-da-da. Ba-da, da-da-da. This one's for you guys. Kiss me once, girl. Kiss me twice, girl. My sugar and spice, girl. And everything nice, girl. Love you forever, and I'll be true to you, girl. You are an angel and you're so divine. You are an angel and you're mine, all mine. Love you forever, and I'll be true to you, girl. Ba-da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Carlton and the Shoes. That was for you guys.
Love me forever.
Yep.
I love
Me
it.
forever. That was beautiful. That's beautiful, man. Thank you for that. Dude, playing like, I'm just watching you play like bass line, guitar, the little piano stabs. Like that's badass, dude. It's fucking badass.
Cool. I like, I couldn't figure out how to play the bass line and the skank at the same time when I first got into reggae, and then I really just kind of practiced it in bed, and I still struggle, but it's really fun to kind of do both. And because like typically, I suppose in a roots reggae band, you have a guitar player doing the skanks and then someone kind of picking the bass line, and not someone doing both. And when I was the only guitar player in the band, I kind of had to do both. So I
Right.
sort of figured that out.
Well, it sharpens the tools, but it makes it so much like it's it makes it a more enjoyable experience. I feel like for the listener for acoustic sets, because if you're playing reggae, I mean like those skanks. Like I go through this just like when I do an acoustic set. It's like, all right, how long are people gonna be willing to listen to me just go jank, jank? So figuring out how to fill all that stuff up is crucial. And so I was just watching right now, like, oh damn, I gotta I gotta practice right after this episode. But I wanted to ask you, the song you started singing before you went into "Love Me Forever," and the lyrics. It reminds me of Roger had a little quote from you, and I have one too, because a couple months back you tweeted. You said shocked at some of the comments on Rebelution's social media. Anybody listening to our lyrics, reread them, and I was so stoked when you tweeted that, because many artists in this scene, like yourselves, who have committed themselves to listening to and amplifying the message of Black Lives Matter, that we all have a duty to fight against racism, and against a system that's founded on white supremacy, have dealt with backlash from fans who don't want to hear that message,
Yeah.
and a lot of artists have dealt with it by saying, well, good riddance. If you have a problem with that, then I don't need you as a fan. And I wanted to ask you, like, as a very visible member of this reggae scene, like, what's your approach been to dealing with the sizable chunk of fans? Unfortunately, it's a reality that there's a sizable chunk who listen to your music but get angry when you say Black Lives Matter, or get angry when you talk about white privilege. And so I wanted to ask you about how that has been for you.
Yeah, I don't know why people think that we have to shut up and just play. I have an opinion just like everybody else, and just because my profession is a musician doesn't mean I can't, speak outside of the music. A lot of the people making comments have professions and are making comments about how they feel. So it's definitely my right to speak my mind. So to tell me to shut up only makes me want to continue to do it more. I'm not sure there's changing people's minds. As I get older, it's hard to stomach, but people are very stuck in their own ways. And I think for me, just, having a son now, and I really feel this need to educate my son and the people around him, the young kids, to really embrace diversity. And that's what that song Good Vibes is all about. I want people to embrace the differences. And so it's very, very important for me to speak my mind about that. When people say all lives matter, yeah, of course, all lives matter, but that's not what we're talking about here. And when you say that, it's taking away from the issue that's at hand. So, of course, all lives matter. That's not the point here.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's very, very difficult. And when you look at statistics and you see like 34% of our prison system is Black, there are more Black inmates than white, and whites make up the majority of this country. And it's very troublesome. It's one of the main reasons why I've been so involved in the Last Prisoner Project, because I know how many Black people have been locked away for some stupid crime like possessing cannabis. It just goes to show the racism in the system that's so deep rooted. So I'm going to continue to speak my mind about it. And people say that I need to shut up, like, it just makes me want to do it more, really.
That's great. That's beautiful. If, and you mentioned like 34% of the prison system being Black, and that's even more, that should piss people off even more when you look at that in the context of, Black people making up 14% of the US population, So if you make up 14% of the population, but you're 34% of the jail population, that should tell people that there's, unless you're just a straight up like active racist who thinks that there's some kind of inherent criminality in people with dark skin, then that should tell you that there's some kind of systemic racism, just that fact alone. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and it goes very deep, and I think what's going on right now is more than just police brutality. It's the fact that Black people have gotten the short end of the stick throughout American history. Yep. And around the world as well. And it is time to speak up. I really was silent about it for a long time. And even though I'm not, in front of the news constantly and tweeting about it constantly, like some people, I really do commend the people that are fighting for this cause and the people that are out in the streets. And, enough's enough. I'm with them 100% of the way, especially being a musician that has been so influenced by Black music. It's incredibly important for all of us in this scene to stick up for our Black brothers.
Yeah, right. And that was, I know me and Devin have the same kind of question in that, you kind of answered a little bit where, do you feel that there is that kind of responsibility, if you're playing reggae music, to
yeah, I do, 100%. Yeah, I do 100%. Like I was saying earlier, I do feel like I'm in that awkward position. I don't want to take reggae music away from where it comes from, because it is so deep rooted with speaking about Black oppression, about Rasta culture. Like, I'm not talking about that in Rebelution music, but it doesn't mean that I shouldn't be promoting it. You know what I mean? So when people say, "Oh, I'm into reggae music," and they only listen to Rebelution, that's a big warning sign for me. It makes me want to tour with more people that influence me, like Steel Pulse, and even the modern stuff from Jamaica. It's why we try to tour with bands from Jamaica as much as possible. Protege, big up Don Carlos, and recently we've been connecting with a guy named Linton Fire.
Yeah,
who's one of my favorite artists out of Jamaica. Mm-hmm. It's been just wonderful calling that dude a friend. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, it's been nice to like expose some of these artists that these guys, some of our fans might not even know. And these guys they kill it on stage, man. I can't tell you how amazing it is when Linton Fire jumps on stage and we get to back him on one of his tracks. I'm just like, oh, this is incredible.
Linton Fire is one of if not like the main artist, modern JA artist who's been doing it since the early 2000s now. Who I'm shocked that he hasn't like busted the way some other modern artists have. Like he's one of the best, and I'm always like waiting. He puts out a new album and I'm like, all right, this is gonna be the one, like it's gonna do it for him. And then like I'm always like, why? Yeah. How come people don't? So like, dude, thank you for bringing Linton Fire into the Rebelution fold.
Well, when I look at his catalog, I'm like, dude, this guy has a lot of bangers. So yep. He's got a big catalog. So I think it's kind of hard to say like this album is gonna blow up because you just look at all of his songs over the years. One thing I like about Linton Fire is he's just got a great voice. He sings. You know what I mean? I think some of these reggae artists and dancehall artists, they'll get on stage and they lose their voice after a song because they're like so hyped up. And like that's cool too. I dig a show like that where the fans are singing and everything is like a wheel up. But Linton Fire like actually sings for like like the whole set. And I think that's really impressive because he's belting. He's got a strong voice.
That's dope. So you guys did it. You brought him on tour?
We had him at the last few shows before COVID kind of shut things down. We had him on stage at One Love Festival. He's on that song Good Vibes, actually, that just played. Yeah. And when he put down that verse, it was through a friend, a producer friend of mine named Yeti. And
I know Yeti.
Yeah, we all know Yeti, yeah.
And Sasha Laser, who plays with
Matt Caddies.
And Sasha spent a lot of time in Jamaica, and he knows a lot of these artists. So he was the one that connected us to Linton Fire. So Linton Fire sent back the verse, and I was like, this is incredible. So we put it on the album. And then years later, we actually finally got to meet him. And so, yeah, the last few shows, we had him on stage. We did Good Vibes, and then he stayed on stage for one of my favorite songs. We got to back him up for, it's called When We Rise It. It's one of his older songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we were first starting out as a band, we were listening to that song a ton. And so just the fact that we get to perform that song with him is such an honor. Actually, he just texted me today too. He's like, "What's up? Let's do something new." So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's dope, man. That's so cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah, good guy, conscious guy, and I encourage all you guys to check out Linton Fire.
See, what's super cool, man, is like in the position you are, and like I say, man, even just talking to you today, I'm more of a fan of you and everything you're a part of. But you're in this cool position where You know, if you want to work with that cat or this cat over here, you're just like, all right, I'm a couple phone calls away. You know, are there any artists that you want to work with that you've yet to dabbled?
Well, there's an artist that I would have loved to work with, but unfortunately he passed away, and that would be Joseph Hill from Culture.
Yeah.
And I got to see Culture perform a couple years before Joseph Hill passed away, and he was probably the best front man I've ever seen perform live. And being a big Don Carlos fan, I mean, Don Carlos, you're amazing too if you're watching, but I think a lot of people in the reggae community that have seen Culture perform would agree that Joseph Hill just had this incredible charisma, and every show was different, the way he would communicate with the crowd. I saw him perform in Golden Gate Park at a fundraising event, and there must have been like 20 people there.
Wow.
And it was at the band shell in Golden Gate Park. It was such a poorly put together event, but something that I'll never forget. And he put on a show like he was playing in front of thousands of people. And if you go online and you look at him performing in Africa, I believe it's in Kenya, and there's like a crowd of what looks like 600,000 people. And just seeing the way that they respected this man. I mean, have you guys seen him perform? Just curious.
Yeah, I went to, in the early 2000s, I was going to every reggae, like that's all I did was just go to like festivals. And this was before, you know, the whole like American scene was really blowing up. So a reggae festival was Jamaican artists. And yeah, I went to a show that it was Culture, you know, Joseph Hill was still with them, Burning Spear, John Holt,
Wow.
Cornell Campbell. Like it was a crazy lit like lineup where you just couldn't take your eyes away. But you're absolutely right, Joseph Hill, and everyone should go check out that performance in if it's Kenya, then it's Kenya. Yeah, that you're referencing. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think there's a DVD of it. I have it. I have a DVD of him performing in Africa to a huge crowd.
Yeah, it's like a tiny like little box stage, and they're cramped, and they show them, and then they start the song International Herb.
Yeah.
And then they stop the song, they wheel it up, and they turn to the crowd, and it's just like all these flags just going nuts, you know, and people just going crazy, and they just scream for like 2 minutes straight before they can start the song again. And just like, what an incredible moment that must have been for Culture and Joseph Hill specifically. Those are the kind of moments that you dream of, and his music, you know, found its way to Africa. I know they're one of the biggest reggae bands in Africa of all time.
Wow.
But that would be one of my dream collaborations.
Well, what about someone you can get?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really like some of the modern stuff out of Jamaica. I like a guy named Romain Virgo. Just his voice is so powerful, and he was kind of like the American Idol winner of the Jamaican version. There's a show called Rising Stars, and Romain Virgo won several years back, and that's what kind of propelled his career. But if you see that guy live or listen to his music, such a powerful voice. So I would really like to collaborate with him, or maybe Taurus Riley. I like his kind of ability to have a throwback style and also sort of a modern style. And I love his message too. And that guy, and being such a good guy, I credit him a lot.
He puts on a show too. Roger and I have been playing in Long Beach Dub All Stars for the last couple of years, and we opened for Taurus Riley, and I think was it Berkeley? I think it was in Berkeley, like
up north,
like not too long ago, not even a year ago, I think. And it was a Taurus Riley show, and he crushed it. It was just like his band was ridiculous.
Yeah, everyone was on point. Is it like school or something, right? Like college?
Yeah, he's a professional.
Yeah.
I saw he did a song recently with Michael Rose. It was like a Guess Who's Coming to Dinner kind of remix.
Nice.
Yeah, I love that track. So
yeah, that's one of the great ones. I wanted to ask you about the Cali Roots Radio that you've been doing with Dan Sheehan on Sirius, right? Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about how that's been going and kind of like what the formula is for that show and everything?
Well, it's been wonderful. It initially started with the joint contacting Ineffable Music and saying we want to start a Cali Roots radio program, and they worked together with a guy named Adam from Ineffable to kind of come up with the idea. And initially, I was the only host. I just did an hour, and they kind of wanted to see how it was going, how many listeners there were, and it ended up being very successful. That they added a second hour, and Dan Sheehan, who's the promoter and booker of Cali Roots, they got him to do a second hour, and it's great because, like I was saying on this podcast, I get to just basically to play whatever I want, and I get to play some of the reggae influence inspired stuff from this country and globally, but also some of the legends of reggae music, because I think that's important, and then some of the modern stuff from Jamaica as well. So it's this real like kind of mix of music, and it's really fun. I'm really enjoying it.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That must be so fun. That's like been my dream to have a radio show. Like that's every musician's dream, right? It's like you
get to play what you want. You're like,
Yeah.
This is my hour now.
Roger, someone in the comments says your mic might be a little low. Maybe.
Oh no.
Maybe I want to turn that up.
I hate.
Or should I just tell him this?
Maybe I gotta get closer. I'm shy to the mics. A mic killed my pet hamster, so I'm scared of that mic.
Also, Eric, I wanted to ask you about. So you know, everyone knows you as Eric from Rebelution, but also there's a project you've been involved in for a few years now with Amp Live called Unified Highway. And can you tell us a little bit about that? I got to see you. Well, I spent some time with Amp Live. Because Expanders did a tour opening for Iration, and Ineffable hit us up and was like, hey, like Amp's gonna be on that tour too, and he needs a ride. Like, can he, like, for like $50 a day, can he like ride in your van? So we were like, yeah, sure. So I rode around with him for like 2 or 3 weeks, and he was stoked. I guess that was probably in the very early when you guys were starting Unified Highway, and he was just talking about it every day, like, oh, I'm so stoked on this, like this is so dope. And like, Amp's he's a very like serious dude, like, about his thing. And so we would go between, like, we talked about, it was 2016, so we would go back and forth talking about like the election, and like, no, this fool can't possibly win, and then like talking about Unified Highway. So can you tell us a little bit about Unified Highway, because I'm having withdrawals from hearing about it every day.
Sure. Yeah, well, we toured with a band called Zion I for many years, starting in 2009 or 2010, and that group was an MC named Zumbi, and Amp Live was the producer DJ of that hip hop group. And we kept in contact. We did multiple tours together. And we always talked about doing a project together. Finally, we got together, and one of the main reasons why I love Amp Live is, yeah, he's got his hip hop background, but that guy loves all sorts of music.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he likes reggae, he likes folk music, pop, blues. I mean, and his beats are so obscure that I just love the way they turn out. And when we get together, we really make some cool music. So we released our first album in 2016 or 2017, and then recently released an album called Headlines. And it's been just really fun. There's no limitations to the music. There's more of a electronic R&B hip hop feel to it, but there's no restrictions. We kind of just get to do whatever we want. So it's been really fun.
I was scoping out that album, and I really was digging the Higher Than High tune. I mean,
nice.
it's got our boy Kareem on it, but it's also
Yeah.
got, Del the Funky Homo Sapien. So I was tripping out on that whole thing. But definitely is, different sounds, obviously. Rebelution, Unified Highway. The songwriting process, is it the same? Or is it do you go in kind of, with a little different of a goal?
It's very different in that it's just me and Amp Live. And with Rebelution, it's either just me creating the material, or all 7 of us might be together at a sound check working on some material. So there's a lot of different opinions, which can be good and bad. And as you guys know, being in a band, and but most of the time it's good. And I really enjoy collaborations, no matter what kind it is. A lot of the times I'll have an idea, and then someone brings in something, and even though it might change the tune completely, it's something that I wouldn't normally do, and sometimes it can really come out incredible. So, but usually with me and Amp Live, we get into a studio together, typically a room in a house, and just set up our little microphone, and we just kind of create from there. So it's kind of on the spot, and that's how most of this album was made.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
That's dope. Is it? Well, obviously, it's just 2 different things. You got a full band over here. You got 2 cats over here. I mean, man, I get every musician wishes they can have the whole Jekyll and Hyde and the other, kind of thing, But you having those two, I mean, I know you do a lot of features featuring Eric Rachmany, but has it ever crossed your mind of just doing a straight Eric Rachmany album?
Yeah, it's definitely come across my mind. I just don't know what the sound would be like. I'm always trying to put out something that I haven't done before. So I would want it to be something maybe more acoustic rock. I love folk music. I love really mellow stuff. Maybe just me and an acoustic guitar. I think that might be the sound that I'm looking for. Because with Rebelution, I also feel like I don't have many limitations. Unified Highway, definitely no limitations. So I definitely get my fix, I get to be creative with both bands. But I think something that I haven't done completely is just an album of guitar and vocals. I think that might be cool.
That would be super cool, especially if you recorded it. I'm all giving you advice now. Especially if you recorded it just live, just fucking put up a couple mics and just did it, just went for it. People would be into that.
Come over, we're ready. We're mic'd up.
Yeah, Roger's got a great studio over there. I want to take a comment or a question from the comment section over here.
Yeah.
This is from earlier. The Magic Man 182. I'm gonna put it on the screen here. He says, "Yo, much love. Can you ask Eric what Count Me In is about? That song is amazing. Also heard they all went to UCLA and why they all went to school if they knew they were musical geniuses." That's a great question.
Why'd you waste your time?
Yeah, what's wrong with you people?
You knew.
Well, to answer the first part of the question, that song "Count Me In" is on the album "Count Me In," and we had toured relentlessly for 2 to 3 years up to that point. And I think just that feeling when you're about to leave home and go on a 2 to 3 month tour, and then a fall tour, and then a winter tour, and then a summer tour, you just kind of get this uncomfortable feeling. And I wanted to write a song just to kind of pick me up and to know that, my friends and family back home can always count me in, whether I'm leaving, no matter where I am. My energy, my spirit is with them, and their spirit's with me. So that's kind of what that song is about.
Nice.
And then we didn't go to UCLA. We went to Santa Barbara City College first, where we all met each other. And then we all went to UCSB, and we all graduated in different classes. We're all 1 year apart in a line. And we also met in the streets of Isla Vista and kind of the scene. And that's where we all got together. But I met Marley actually in a music class. We were both trying to be music majors in college. And even though we didn't end up doing the music major, that's where we met. So beyond our musical genius, we actually met in class. So it was very important. Actually, that's one of the main reasons why I encourage people to go to school. It might not be for everybody, but whether you identify with the educational aspect, you're going to meet some great people. And certainly if you're into music, it's a great place to just find musicians to play with or to be inspired with, to be inspired by. One of the best classes I took was a songwriting class at Santa Barbara City College. And I never sang a song up until that point. I was 18. I never wanted to sing ever. I just wanted to be a guitar player, but they make you get in front of the class and you have to sing a song.
Wow.
So I got up, I was very nervous. And over time, I just kind of gained that confidence. And a lot of it was because of that class. Everybody was so supportive of each other. It was all encouraging. Most of these people are not, everybody in the class, was very nervous to a certain extent to get in front of somebody and share their own original music. So that was a very important class for me. That definitely changed my life for sure.
Dang. I got scared just hearing that story. I only sing in the shower.
Dude, Roger's a good singer. I say it every chance I
car.
get. Sometimes at sound check, Roger will just do his little cause he's got a mic for little gang vocals and stuff, and he'll do a little joking thing.
Fly. I'll do a little R. Kelly and stuff.
Yeah, but Roger, I can tell just by the way that you craft your playing on the keys that you have vocal melodies in your head, and you're very musical. Both of you guys are incredibly musical, but I could just tell by your style and your melodic ability that you have that in you. So
He's got a voice though. He's got pipes. He doesn't ever want to use them. He won't ever do it. But like sometimes like he'll sound check and like right after me, and I'm like, fuck, like I'm like trying to sing, and this fool's just like joking around, and it sounds way better. Anyway, I don't like Roger that much, but that's a whole other show.
Yeah. I'll come out with the solo album one day. You guys don't even know it.
You really should. You should do like a just change your name. Don't say Roger Rivas. Just give yourself like an MC name and just do a track, and no one will ever know it's you.
Right.
No, it'd be good. It would be good.
It'll be good.
Eric, I also wanted to ask you. We don't have much time left, but I really did want to ask you about. You've spent some time in Guam, and working with the 4-piece band, who's probably like my favorite modern reggae band. Obviously they're not like technically an American band because they're from Guam. I guess technically they are an American band because they're from Guam. I don't know, but like I'm a huge 4-piece band fan. Those are my boys. They actually played. They came out and played our wedding last year in Big Sur. It was amazing. But I wanted to ask you about like, we've had some other like Fortunate Youth we had on, and we had Josh Heinrichs on, and we talked to all of them about Guam, like how Guam just seems to embrace a certain group of artists from this scene, and you definitely have done some stuff over there. So I wanted to hear what that was like, and any stories you have and whatever.
Sure. Well, I've been to Guam a few times just playing music, but I never thought that I would spend so much time in Guam. My wife is from Guam, and I got to spend an incredible amount of time in the southern part of Guam, which is very local. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. And during that time, I got to really understand the culture, but a lot of the bands coming from Guam, and 4-piece band is one of them. There's another great band called the John Dank Show out of Guam. And whenever they get off the island to play, it's a big deal. Guam is very far away. It's very expensive to get off the island and back. And I actually really feel for those guys because they were really making some noise, and then COVID hit, and a lot of those guys moved to the States to tour. Like this was their time, and they were coming up. And I know they will when it comes back, because they're just both of them are fantastic groups. But I've been trying to promote them as much as possible, just because they're still on the rise, and a lot of people don't know them. And
see, I got my shirt actually. You can't really see, but this is my 4-piece band shirt. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yep.
They've shown nothing but love to me when I'm out in Guam. They, like, for the few shows that I played out there, just acoustic, they would like back me up. I played a few shows with 4-piece when I was out there. Super fun, really talented musicians.
So good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan like you. So yeah, and there's so many talented musicians from the islands. It's not just Guam. It's Micronesia, it's Hawaii, Tahiti, and a lot of them really struggle to get off the island to perform. So when they do come, and when shows start back up, make sure you go support them, because it's a big deal.
I'm glad you mentioned some of the other islands, because I totally would have forgot to tell you this, but so I got married last year, and for our honeymoon we went to Bali, and one night we went to a club because we heard that there was a reggae band. There was like this one reggae band that was like the reggae band in Bali that was playing at a spot there. They have a reggae club where they do reggae all the time. I looked it up. I was like, is there any reggae happening in Bali? Anyway, so I walked in. This band was the shit, and I can't remember what they're called, and it's like bugged me ever since. But anyway, when we went in, I probably heard like 7 Rebelution songs, like just over the speaker, they were bumping. And it wasn't just like, they weren't just playing, they didn't just have it on like Rebelution Spotify or something. Like they were playing all kinds of like Jamaican stuff, all kinds of stuff that I assumed was local just by the sound of it, and then lots of like stuff from the American scene. And Rebelution was just blasting out there, and it was just crazy to like that far around the world and just be like, oh, there's like Eric's voice like right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a trip. You say that. Yeah, I found that a clip online from Jakarta of this band covering Safe and Sound, and it was kind of like that similar culture in Africa thing, just a little scaled down. But they started with the band playing, and then they shifted over to the audience, and it's right when our song Safe and Sound, like the vocals come in, and this crowd's going nuts. And I had no idea that Rebelution was like a thing in Indonesia, of all places.
Yeah.
And we see a lot of comments from Indonesia. So if anybody's tuning in from there, I'm trying so hard to book a show out there with our team. It's been really difficult, but we know we have a ton of fans out there in Indonesia and Bali specifically
Yeah.
too. So, got to get out there.
Oh yeah, you definitely do. Yeah, I have firsthand anecdotal evidence that you got a lot of fans in Bali. That was a trip. That was such a trip.
I want to go. Take us when you go to Bali. I've only heard. I've never
It's
been.
great, man. Raj, I got one more question. I don't know about you, and then we gotta move into something
Oh,
special.
we got one of my favorite parts of the show. We
Yeah.
gotta move into that.
But I did want to ask you, because someone asked me this, Eric, have you ever met someone that you were a fan of, like outside the music scene, and then found out that like they were a Rebelution fan?
Definitely, yeah, and that's a trip, man. I don't know how people hear the music because I still feel like we're pretty underground in a sense. This scene is definitely coming up, but when I see like a random fan in I don't know, like a taqueria or something in San Francisco, I'm like, how do you even know who I am? Like most of the time I just cruise around and no one notices me
Yeah.
but it's definitely amazing what people do. We just have the best fans. Like it makes me miss being on stage and like hearing them sing back to me.
For sure. But have you ever met like, I don't know, like a basketball player or like just somebody where you're like, dude, I'm such a fan, and they're like, it's you.
I don't know if that situation has happened. I know Klay Thompson is a big fan of ours, and I'm a
Wow.
I'm a big Warriors fan. So that was a big.
That's huge right there.
That's you. You're like, I don't think that's ever happened.
Yeah, that's huge.
Oh, there's this one, like,
Yeah.
Klay Thompson. I mean,
Are you a big basketball fan, Eric?
Yeah, I love basketball. I've been watching the playoffs.
And the Warriors are your team?
Yeah, I love the Warriors. Yeah, that's my team.
it's like we're Lakers fans, and it's been so long since the Lakers have been in the playoffs, and I thought that was bad, but this is worse. Like I almost don't want them in the playoffs. Like this is too stressful. This shit is too stressful. I forgot what
Warriors
this
are
is
going to
like.
be a team, baby. You guys
next year the Warriors are a team.
Yeah.
I love the team. I just love the style of basketball they play too, and
Sure.
and I also really admire those players' willingness to come out on social media and use their platform to. And I really love even the rivals. Like LeBron James was a rival of the Warriors for years when they were battling in the finals, and when he came out in support of Steph Curry, I just love that camaraderie. For them saying the issue at hand is bigger than basketball. I mean, that's a tremendous camaraderie in that league. So I'm down. I'm watching it. I'm supporting. I support those guys for sure.
I agree.
But,
Yeah.
I do have a story about the Klay Thompson thing.
Yes.
He contacted me and I gave him the wrong date for the show, and we had played the show the night before, and he texted me and said, when is the show tonight? And I looked at my phone, I looked at the text, and I said, oh man. But I did get to meet him at a game after the game, and it was very cool. Very humble guy. I think his dad is from the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And he had mentioned to me
He's from the Bahamas.
Yeah, he had mentioned to me that he grew up listening to Steel Pulse and some other stuff from reggae was just a huge part to his life. So awesome dude, great player. Go Dubs. Sorry, Lakers.
That's okay. That's okay. Can't be mad. I was a Warriors. So the Warriors were like when the last time the Lakers were good, like 10 years ago. At that time, the Warriors were terrible, and I had a bunch of homies who lived up in the Bay Area, the California Honey Drops, those dudes. And so me and my then girlfriend, now wife, would go up to the Bay Area all the time just to hang out. And so you could go to Warriors games for like $10 at Oracle because they were so bad. And so like I've always been this way. I've been like a Lakers fan. They're always like my favorite team. And then I've always had like one other team, and it's usually a bad team. As soon as they get good, I'm like, no, I don't like you anymore because now I'm scared of you. But the Warriors were like my bad team. The Warriors were my second favorite team for a long time. Yeah. Yeah. So I got like when they finally got good, I was so stoked how they did it because until KD came, it was like they just grew it. They grew it like organically. But I don't know if fans want to hear us talking about
I know.
basketball all night. So we can do this. I will go on about this.
So Eric, we started doing this new segment with certain guests. It doesn't work out with everyone, but we're definitely going to work out with you tonight. And it is a rapid fire question segment where Devin has 5 questions. I have 5 questions. We're going to ask you the question. It's
Okay.
usually going to be a fast answer, like an A, B kind of thing
Okay.
or whatever. So
Yeah,
Good.
quick answers. Don't need to elaborate. I usually break the rule on this, but I'll try not to tonight. All right, Rod, you
Devin?
go first.
You
go
want
first,
me to
Raj.
go first?
Yeah, you go
All
first.
right, cool. Let's break it open. Eric, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Devin.
Excellent. Mexican food or Thai food?
Thai food.
Okay. Eric, whiskey or tequila?
Whiskey.
Nice. Early morning or late night?
Early morning.
Nice.
Would you rather read a book or watch TV?
Watch TV, but I should read a book.
Ooh, I had a similar one. It was audiobook or physical book?
You don't like books. You
You don't like books? Okay.
Get out of there. Was that your question, Devin?
Yeah,
Was
that was my question.
that
Go ahead.
one?
Oh, whatever.
Real book.
Real book.
Yeah,
Okay,
real
good.
book.
There you go.
Yeah. Texting or talking? Give me the real.
Talking.
Okay.
Okay, I swear I had this question. Like I can show you, it's written down. Clay or Draymond?
Clay.
It's gotta be Clay. When you
Oh,
brought that up,
it
I was
has
like,
to
oh,
be
there goes
'cause
my
you
question.
watch
But
it.
I had to ask anyway.
You had that one written down already?
Yeah, because I knew you were a Warriors fan. Yeah, because
okay.
I didn't get to ask you about this, but like Zach, Zach is my boy. Like I've known Zach since he was a little kid, and so he gives me all the dirt on you guys.
Oh,
I love
see?
that one too, though.
There you go.
Yeah.
This isn't an A or B, but what's your favorite cereal?
My favorite cereal is Frosted Mini Wheats.
I love that shit.
You are not the first person who's given us that answer. That's
Really?
I like that,
yeah,
Okay.
surprising to me.
They're good. Devin, have you tried them? They're good.
I have, but like, I mean,
They're good. With the milk gets caught up in the little mini wheat, and then the frosting comes off in the milk.
I just would have expected more Cinnamon Toast Crunch on this show. That's all I'm saying. Because Roger always asks that.
We grew up.
Not me.
We want wheat with our sugar.
Okay, stay in or go out before COVID?
Stay in. Yeah.
Those were my 5 questions. I don't have
Okay,
any
well, I
more.
got one more.
Go
All
ahead.
right, feeling good or feeling all right?
Yeah.
There you
The
go.
correct,
Yeah,
that is
that's
the correct
perfect
answer. Actually, the correct
Ding,
answer
ding,
is
ding,
yeah,
ding.
yeah. But we'll accept yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right, dude, Eric, thank you so much for coming on, man. Really, really appreciate it. It was a pleasure I miss you. I feel like, like if COVID had not happened, I definitely would have like seen you at a show like by now, Cali Roots, obviously. And so it's just weird. Like when we keep having like guests on that I know, it's just like, man, it's so weird. I'd like to see this person and realize like, damn, I definitely would have seen them by now. So
Yeah, man. Miss everybody, miss the whole family and the scene, and we'll get back there, and it's gonna be a celebration.
For sure, man.
Do you have anything you want to leave the people with, like plug anything or anything you want? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I do. A lot of people have been wondering if we have any new music in the works, and the answer is yes. I personally have been very, very active in writing since COVID hit. And although I'm not with my band, I've been in communication, and we're writing a lot of incredible material that we feel really good about. So people have something to look forward to. And I'm not sure when the new album will come out, but making some big strides. So thank you guys for being so patient. And before I forget, I wrote down an artist that I want everybody to go check out that I really like. I forgot to talk about on the program, but a guy named Johnny Go Figure from New York. I've been playing his music on my radio program, and I think his background is I think his dad's from Guyana,
Mm-hmm.
and I like his style, man. He's got a roots throwback style. I think you guys would really like it. Obviously, we heard of him already, so
He actually came out to when Long Beach Dub All Stars were in New York last year. He came to the show, Troy brought him, Roger.
Yeah, you know, I
don't
met
if-
him. Yeah, we were bowling. It was at Brooklyn
Super-
Bowl.
I didn't realize who he was until the very end because I'm a fan of his too. He's got that early '80s like rub-a-dub,
Yeah.
vocal
That's it.
phrasing style. And I didn't know he just came and like was just to me because of his energy when he was there.
Very chill.
I just thought he was like our friend's friend who brought him. And then at the end she mentioned something about Johnny Go Figure. I'm like, oh, that's Johnny. So I went over and talked to him. Yeah, super cool guy. And I'm a big fan, man. And I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of my questions is like current lesser known artists that you think people should know about. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, man. Johnny Go Figure. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, bro. Thank you so much, Eric. And we'll talk to you soon. New music from Eric coming soon, everybody. You heard it here first.
Later, Eric, man.
All right. Later, bro.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Well, that was a pleasure to have Eric on.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, like I said, it's like a trip. Like the months go by and like we don't see people.
Yeah,
But
this
it's
is
all
our
good.
way. This is our way too.
That's our
We're
way.
like-
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it.
So,
Catching up.
who do we got coming up next week, Raj?
Mr. BB Seaton, and a lot of people out there may not know the name offhand, but there is a very, very popular rocksteady group in the late 1960s out of Jamaica called the Gay Lads.
One
They are super freaking dope.
of the best.
If you haven't heard of them, take my word for it, take Devin's word for it. They are all killer, no filler kind of rocksteady.
All killer, no filler.
All killer, no filler.
There's not a bad Gay Lad song.
Nope. And it's a dope like harmony group. So Mr. BB Seaton kind of led those vocals, and he is going to be on the show. This is a true legend. I cannot wait to ask him some of the questions I have. You can't, nowadays, as each year passes, and we go through some bullshit like 2020, whatever, it's like you look back and you're very fortunate to have some of these foundation artists still with you. And so we are super stoked to have him on the show. You cannot miss this one.
And we should mention that it's at a special time. It's not going to be at our usual 6 p.m. time. I think we're doing it
That's
at
right.
11 a.m. Pacific,
Good
right?
call. Yes.
Is that true? 11 a.m. So it's an early show, 7 hours earlier than people are used to for us. But he's in JA, and so it's it's a 7-hour
He's in
difference for
JA.
him. So next week at 11 a.m. Saturday we have Mr. BB Seaton from the Gay Lads.
And we'll
got
remind you.
this-
We'll make sure to remind you on the flyers and the
And-
post for sure.
If you haven't, I know a lot of people maybe tuned in who are like, Rebelution fans, and so maybe don't know some of the older, obscure Jamaican groups. But this week, go on YouTube and just type in the Gay Lads Rocksteady, and just vibe out on some of the music you hear. And then, maybe you'll become a fan this week, and next Saturday you'll have the chance to ask Mr. BB Seaton some questions, which I am just like super stoked. It's been the
Yeah,
best thing
he's
about this
super
PodClash so far is just like getting to talk to some of these foundation artists like BB Seaton. It's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Devin, dude, I caught a little bit of your Tuesday thing, and it was funny because I was in the car and I looked at my phone and you saw Devin was going live, and I'm like, I'm gonna look at Devin real quick while I'm at a stoplight. I know it's wrong, sorry, but how have they been going, man? I know that you've been grooving out on the songbook sessions.
Yeah, I'm just amazed. So every Tuesday I do something called Songbook Sessions where I just sit here, play guitar, and sing songs. A lot of, I was in a band called The Expanders for years, and I'll sing songs from the Expanders catalog. I'm working on a new acoustic record with Roger that we're in the mixing phase right now, and
Yeah.
play songs from that, play old JA songs. This last Tuesday I did the entire first Expanders record, which was really fun because people had questions about each individual song, so I got to like talk about each song and some of the process that went into writing it or recording it or any stories about writing it, and so it's been great. It's been really fun. That was a fun one. I think I'm
Dang
gonna
it,
do
I
some
missed that
more
one.
of
Jeez.
I'm gonna do some more.
Would you do that for me? I know it sounds weird.
Yeah.
but, like, would you play the whole album, the first Expanders album for me? Like,
Yeah, I mean, if by play you mean send you the YouTube link to the one I
Yeah.
did last week. Yeah,
Fair enough.
For sure. I got
Fair
your
enough.
number in my phone. So I'll
enough.
text that to you. And then you can also go to BackstageMusicLessons.com. I've been giving lessons to people, songwriting, guitar playing, vocals. It's really, really fun. Go there. If you've ever thought about like, I want to play guitar, but like, I don't know, I just never have. Like, let's do it. I love the best people to teach guitar to are beginning students. It's super fun. And also like one guy I've been working with songwriting. It's been awesome. We did 4 sessions and wrote a whole song. And it was really, really fun. For me, I learned a lot from just like the collaboration aspect of it.
Right.
It was super cool. And then go follow me on Twitch. Man like Devin. What, Roger? What do you got coming up? I know you're
You
always
know,
a
I got
busy
little
man.
things pop up here and there. There's this really big project that I'm almost ready to share with you guys. But until then, there's little nooks and crannies that come through. And this past week, I was fortunate enough to play keyboards on this track. Mr. Jay Nugent, Agent J from the Slackers, has a group called The Crazy Bald Head. And this new track came out, which I really, really, really like. It's like a spoken word kind of thing. Mr. Sean Wheeler on vocals. It's called As the Sundial Sighs. And so go to his Bandcamp page. I know that Bandcamp was letting people download stuff commission free and whatnot. So go support the artist. That's a really good way, because Spotify ain't paying shit. So, so yeah, Bandcamp's a great way to support the artist for real though. But yeah, that tune, go check it out. I'm really stoked on that tune. It came out. It's really moody, rock steady. Like, I don't know how to describe it other than that, but go scope that out.
Yeah, it's a banger. I listened today.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, man, it's very good.
Nice.
Agent J is dope. He's always been doing great stuff.
Yeah, it's great mind, man.
Yeah, man. Cool. All right. Well, next week, everybody, a special time, 11 a.m. Mr. BB Seaton from the Gay Lads. In the meantime, you can go check out the website, thereggaepodclash.com. Where you can check out what our upcoming songs of the week are going to be. Although I think both Roger and I have been lagging on, more me than Roger, lagging on getting our songs up this week. But tomorrow, they'll be all uploaded. So go check it out tomorrow. Not right now. And you can email us at thereggaepodclash@gmail.com. Also, you can subscribe to the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. We'll put those up earlier in the week, early on in the week. And before I want to mention again, and I have it written down here so I get it right, that Rootfire is right now starting a new project called Center Stage with Reggae Icons. And I'm going to read off this because I want to make sure I get it right. It's a collaborative project between Cali Roots Festival and Rootfire, the goal being to open their respective platforms in service as a resource to living, legendary, foundational reggae artists. And each month it's going to be a month-long deep dive into the featured musicians' catalogs and careers with artist interviews, historic performances, streaming music, recommended films and books, and hosted panel discussions. So it's a lot of stuff going on. The goal of the project is to serve as a bridge through music history education to honor legendary reggae art and share the artist's stories with American fans. Each reggae artist will be illuminated through a variety of platforms such as social media, Rootfire's Reggae PodClash, and Sirius XM's The Joint. So Center Stage with Reggae Icons kicks off in September. That's right now. And it features, as Roger mentioned at the top of the show, Toots Hibbert. So if all of those things I just rattled off sound like something you are interested in, go check out rootfire.net and follow them on all the social medias, Rootfire. It's really cool what they're doing. It's long overdue, and I don't say that as criticism or scorn. I'm just saying, it's like long overdue for the American reggae scene to really be loudly amplifying Jamaican music. And Cali Roots and Rootfire have really done an amazing job teaming up to do just that by doing month-long deep dives into foundational reggae artists. And this is the first month of the series, and it features Toots Hibbert. And so we were supposed to have Toots last week. He's in the hospital. Let's all send good vibes to him. But it's really cool because the Reggae PodClash being a kind of like a centerpiece of Rootfire, we're going to get the opportunity to have a lot of these artists that they're doing these month-long deep dives on as guests on the PodClash. So, they might have, they're really like Reed, who's the head of Rootfire, and Roger and I have a, weekly call every Monday to talk about Rootfire, Reggae PodClash stuff. And he's kind of told us some of the names that they've been talking to about doing these deep dives in. And all I can say is if some of these things work out, we got some really, really cool guests coming up. So someone in here says, Philippe says, you guys need to start a band together. Well, you might
tried,
be in for
it didn't work out.
Yeah.
You quit and I quit. And then,
when
No,
both
I'm
people
joking.
quit, it doesn't work. All right. Well, on that note, Raj,
Dev, as always, man, it's great seeing you virtually. And everyone, thank you for tuning in.
Ooh, Angie Ortiz says, I still vote for shirts.
Oh, yeah. That's a side note. We are working on shirts and we are working on mugs
Yeah, we got some cool.
that we will be advertising on the show.
Yes, Roger is a graphic designer, and he has graphic designed some merchandise. So it will be coming soon, very, very soon. It's in the works.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Roger, good to see you.
Devin,
Everybody,
great
good to
seeing
see you. Thanks again to our special guest, Eric Rachmany, and we will see everybody next week at a special 11 a.m. Pacific time with BB Seaton of the Gay Lads.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Be good to each other. Peace.
Get well, Toots. Bye.
Yes.